The entire island top 10 just got nuked. Billions of island value just got removed immediately as they disable the entirety of the Nether. Now, in a way, this kind of happened out of nowhere, but there's a lot of island people who probably already knew this was about to happen. Due to the insane amount of bugs and potential exploits that came in the new Nether, it was only a matter of time before they decided maybe this wasn't the play. Now, personally, I miss the Nether from Season 1, and I really don't think it should have changed, if only it should have been upgraded. But this new version has came with so many bugs and exploits and issues that there's no way they could keep producing it. For that reason, it was removed, and with it comes the value of every single player who was in the island top 10. Now, at first you might think, well, that's not very fair. I mean, they worked hard to get their stuff in the Nether in the first place, right? Wrong. You see, apparently, almost every member of the island top 10 were using some kind of exploit, bug, or some kind of abuse in order to get their value in the island top 10 in the first place. I figured that out today on stream while streaming at twitch.tv/NovaDrakers, follow for more content. And when Neo actually pulled every single player in the server into Discord to have a good conversation about what was happening. And it all started with a simple, very confusing reboot. Whenever he's rebooting, like, you can physically hear it. Am I zone 3? I guess I'm zone 3. Now, at this point, I assumed it was just any other reboot. I mean, reboots happen all the time, but I was kind of confused as to why Neo was specifically saying that it was being rebooted in the first place. Apparently, it was not just any reboot. What happened is that Neo had decided that it was about time that they disabled the Nether, and with that meant they had to do a reboot. I was confused at first, but in this clip I actually realized, oh, this is happening right now. And it's like, it's scary. Okay, actually, wait. Ooh? Wait, I lied. Oh no, they said they were disabling the Nether, right? Okay, that's what they're doing. They're rebooting it to disable Nether. So yeah, at this point they disabled the Nether, and Neo decided it was about time to explain everything to everyone who was currently on the Minecraft. So he made a mass announcement, spammed it in chat, and explained that, guys, we're having a talk, hop in Discord. Oh, this sounds fun. Oh, this sounds fun. No, it's full! Neo, it's full! No, it's muted! Let me in! Eventually they moved to a not restricted call, and I did in fact get in. Neo gave people time to come in, and eventually Neo decided that it's about time to explain to everyone what was happening in the grand scheme of things.
I just want people to understand that we hear you, and that's why we're going to do a talk here. So first of all, I'm really sorry we had to do this, but I hope you can come to understand that we had to do this. We had found out, I think maybe the second or third week of this season that players could get items into the Nether with one method, okay? So we fixed that method, and then, you know, a few days later or a week later, we find out about another method and we fix it. And after doing that about 8 or 9 times, I finally just realized that there's been a method that people have been using the entire time. I'm sure there was probably 15 different ways to get items into the Nether, whether it was through grind pass, mastery crafting initially. The current one that everyone was abusing was trading, which you can't like trade someone in the Nether, but you can cheat it basically.
So in case you can't tell by the way he's talking, this dude is exhausted. I assume he's been in either meetings all day or just like talking to the developers, talking to the staff team, figuring out what should be done, how we should approach this. And I figure he's been going through a lot today. So the fact that he was even able to come up and talk to us all in like a giant group was genuinely impressive, and I'm really happy for that. But naturally that also meant that we did have to alleviate the stress that he was currently having. So as he said, there were innate problems with the Nether. Issues where people could get blocks into Nether where they're not supposed to, or ways that they could just create blocks in Nether in, once again, ways they're not supposed to. Now, obviously, this is considered cheating. The idea of the Nether is that everything you get in the Nether should be made from the Nether. And likewise, nothing that you made in the Nether should be able to be brought out of the Nether. The problem lay in the fact that everyone in the top 10 was, in fact, cheating in some way or another. Whether they were bringing items into the Nether, bringing items out of the Nether, or creating items in the Nether that they should never have had the ability to create. Now, at this point, obviously you know the story, Neo decided that it was best to remove the Nether entirely. I do agree with that decision, and I think it was the best decision to be made overall. I mean, banning individuals just kind of doesn't make sense in the situation. There's no real way you can effectively ban the people who you're supposed to ban without getting some good apples in the bunch. There's a saying that a bad apple ruins a whole batch, and there's no reason for us to throw away the whole batch when we could just, I don't know, turn into applesauce. So now with that applesauce created, the entirety of the island top is now nuked. At this point though, the conversation shifted slightly away from the whole ongoing fiasco, and we actually started talking a little bit about next season. The first thing we talked about with Neo was solo leaderboards?
You
Neo,
guys
can I ask you a
excited about
question?
solo islands? Next season, we're gonna have a solo island leaderboard.
I'm
Yes,
really
sir.
need it.
I wish that would have been this season. I started off solo.
I'm still solo.
Yeah.
That was pretty interesting to talk about, and now I'm not quite sure exactly what I want to do next season, because on one end I want to have a nice group of people who can work together and have fun together and maybe PvP a bit together, but on the other hand, a solo leaderboard does sound quite funny. Once again though, the conversation did shift, and now we start talking about how many payouts were left in the season. Neo confirmed that there's about 2 or 3 payouts left, which means about 4 or 6 weeks left in the season. So get ready, because season 4 is on its way. Another thing that was confirmed was the idea of payouts happening every week rather than every 2 weeks. This is pretty interesting because Neo was mentioning that he thinks that the amount of money people are getting from the payouts is not as high they'd like it to, specifically because they are sharing this among 10 people. So they do want to make it so you get payouts every single week instead of 2 weeks with the same amount being paid out, effectively doubling how much they're paying out every single week. The other important thing is they're actually not sure exactly how much they're going to give for solo leaderboards. Definitely won't be as big as group leaderboards because they do want to encourage this kind of group play. But they're thinking solo leaderboards might be about maybe 30% of the value, just because it's a lot harder to get this much, but they definitely can't give full value because it's just the full value for one person compared to a whole group, and it just wouldn't make much sense. Leaderboards for solo is going to be pretty interesting. It's going to be a weird thing for them to actually balance, because on one end I'm thinking maybe $20 for top place is definitely good, but by that statistic you're going to be given 5th place $4, and that just feels kind of weird. Personally, I say first place $20, second place $15, third place, fourth place, and fifth place all get 10. I think that would be a good even ground, and it would still encourage like a decent amount of competition. After this, Neo did open the ground for more questions, and I actually got the opportunity to ask 2 questions. So I do have 2 questions. The first one is, I know that the old Nether existed, and that one was really fun. I don't think there was any like glaring issues with it, except maybe it being a little too strong in some parts and weaker in other parts, like the mining wasn't that good. Is there any interest in bringing that back instead? Because I thought that was really fun and really cool, and I'd like to see that.
We'll explore a number of options in regards to adding something similar back to the Nether. I know in the future there might be another dimension potentially, and that would probably be better than the Nether.
Now, long story short, that does mean that the Nether that it currently exists is pretty much gone forever. And if they do add a new version of the Nether, it's going to be something completely different, hopefully something similar to Season 1, but probably something that we never really expect. I'm okay with this. I didn't really like the new version of the Nether, and I'm okay that they're doing some kind of change. The next thing we actually went over is servants, because someone randomly said, "Hey Neo, when you gonna nerf servants?" Now, given that this conversation had nothing to do with servants, that wasn't the most welcomed question, but we did still approach it and talk about it and go pretty extensively about what we can do to nerf servants, what we can do to change how they work, and what we can do to make sure that other aspects of the game is encouraged over servants. At the end of the day, we came to the solution that there's nothing we can definitely do today, but obviously something that we can work on in the future, and the suggestions channel is the perfect place to do that.
Like, guys, if you ever
That's
have
fine.
like instead of going in the suggestions and putting like please nerf servants, they're too powerful, right?
Just give
If
better
you went
ideas.
in there and made a meaningful suggestion with like some, maybe they don't, it doesn't have to include numbers, but if you can find a way to fix it that you think would not make players unhappy, and the team likes it, like we'll just change it. Like, if you guys ever have a suggestion that you know will work and know will actually make the server better, then put it in the suggestions. Like, you say nerf servants, okay, we'll figure out a way that would make players still happy with buying them, but also make them where they don't snowball.
Now, with that in mind, I actually do plan to make a lot of suggestions about the server, just because of something that happens future in the video that makes me actually feel like they do read the suggestions and do actually go in depth with them, which makes me very, very excited. So if you guys do ever see my suggestions, make sure to put an upvote on it, because I think that has an impact, but I don't really know, but I would still like to see my votes get upvoted. After that, someone asked a question about rotating shop, the fact that it resets twice every time it goes up, or like every other time, but you'll see in the clip.
So
saying
she's talking about last refresh, it double refreshed itself, because Enterprise were on first, and then it changed it to the Normal Shell one.
Rotating shop always does that.
Has that not been a bug
That's
since like season 2?
No, that's always been a thing since
Yeah,
rotating.
that's
it's
No
always
one's ever
just
reported that, or we would have.
No, we've reported that.
Well, I thought maybe you guys
Definitely
did.
reported that. Day
That would
one,
be a
we
pretty
reported
simple-
that.
That would be a pretty simple fix.
As you see, I got the whole squad laughing. Now, of course, you know that a lot of this conversation was about to be about the whole Nether fiasco that was happening. But with the season being this close to an end, it is kind of natural that a lot of talk happened about next season. And Neo did mention that in next season he plans to condense a lot of the money that you see in the server, so lowering the sell prices for a lot of items. That way that when people come into the server, they don't feel as threatened by the insanely high battle top that exists.
So the next season, the entire economy, like as a whole, will be reduced because the numbers are just so big right now.
Thank God.
Like it's just stupid. Like it is just stupid. Like everything will be a large amount smaller, but nothing like balancing wise. I mean, we're gonna make balancing changes, but the economy as a whole will be contracted.
Now, in my opinion, I don't think that the high expanse of money is truly the issue. What I think is the fact that there's no real money sink in the game. If we look, for instance, at Skycoins is always at a decently expensive amount. People always want to buy them and always want to get more. That's because Skycoins are used to upgrade your island, Skycoins are used to buy servants, Skycoins are used to upgrade your servants, and all of that leads into getting more money. The issue is there's nothing for you to invest your money in truthfully. Now, naturally, you have the option of just straight up buying things, and people will use that money in order to buy, more island value blocks and stuff like that. But if you're not going for island top 10, you just have an insane amount of money that you have physically nothing to do with. Definitely, I think that compacting how much money people get will definitely be a solution, but I don't think it will be enough to truthfully allow money to feel more useful than it currently is. Now, a little bit after this, we actually start talking about fishing. For those who don't know, fishing currently on the server is not very fun, and Neo actually has said in the past that he plans to upgrade it to make it a bit more entertaining. We got a bit of a sneak peek as to what he means in the next clip.
So with fishing getting revamped, are we going to be able to expect custom enchants for fishing rods and everything?
We're going to have a whole world of fishing. Have you ever been to Bass Pro Shops?
Yes.
Adding that to the server.
Is it trident or fishing rod?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's with the fishing rod.
No. Why?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Did you see the vote?
Okay.
The vote was like 800 to
Yeah,
trident, and then fishing rod
The
was
reason the vote
400.
was like that is because I think people were confused.
Now, I didn't understand exactly what he meant by that in the moment, but now as I'm rewatching the VOD, I think I more understand it. What I think he's saying is that a lot of people who saw the votes comprehended it as, in its currently state, do you prefer trident fishing to make money, or do you prefer normal fishing to make money? Now, obviously, everyone preferred trident fishing because it actually made money compared to normal fishing. Personally, when I did the votes, I understood that he meant for the long term of the server and not for its current state, and I do prefer trident fishing a lot more over normal fishing. I think it would be okay in the future if they had both versions, but we'll see. What truly interested me was when he mentioned Bath Pro Shops. Now, I didn't know what Bath Pro Shops was, and I looked it up, and it seems like kind of like an indoor fishing area where you can go and you can fish together as a group and just have fun with it. That sounds really fun, and actually reminds me of another server where they do have a fishing area. I'll probably have a picture up above, where you can go there and you fish and you actually make a lot of money. And that is how a lot of people actually get into getting money in that server. Having something like that in the server, I think would be pretty cool if everyone went together and they just went their own little island, kind of like D-Boss, who slash warp fishing, and it's this old dimension, everyone pulls out their fishing rod and they're chilling fishing together. I think that would be pretty dope. But then he mentioned something afterwards that kind of confuses me.
We're fishing on islands, so it's literally impossible to have those entities spawned on everyone's island. That would destroy the server.
If the fishing's happening on everyone's individual island, then how does that work with Bath Pro Shops? I mean, in theory, Bath Pro Shops by definition is just you go in there, you fish together, or you have fun. So I expect it to be like this open world where anyone can go. But if it's specific to your island, then how different is that from vanilla fishing? He says he has a lot of things in mind. I'm really curious to see what happens there, but truly it's just something we have to wait and see. Suddenly then, out of nowhere, someone mentioned something about a change in spawners, adding either new tiers to spawners or more mobs to spawners, and you will see how that went in the next clip.
You just roll out the Nether and find it.
Would it be possible to see a change in the spawners? Because I know survival they have drought, the evokers, some unique.
Oh, new
that,
spawners.
You saying we don't have enough?
Yeah, I mean it'd be fun.
At tier 8.
I just bought that.
I think not just not add more tiers, but add more to them so that you're not just getting the same things.
Nah, at tier 8.
So you can.
I did make a suggestion on tier 8.
No, I like that suggestion. The warden, that was funny. I like that.
Dragon spawner.
Yeah, that was dope. I like that suggestion.
It'd be fun to be able to.
Now, what actually interested me the most about this clip was the fact that Neo knew exactly what suggestion he was referencing. That is really cool because that was a very specific random suggestion, and the fact that Neo was able to pinpoint it and mention it and make a joke about it is really, really exciting because it shows that he is watching suggestions. With that in mind, like, feel free to send in suggestions. They may not get responded to immediately, but the staff team is definitely looking through them and making opinions on them, and I'm very excited to make some suggestions for myself. At the end of the day, we are the people pushing together this server. If we ever stop playing, the server physically cannot function. And at the end of the day, they want the server to be as enjoyable for us as possible. So if you guys have suggestions that you would personally enjoy, or you know a group of your friends would personally enjoy, make sure to put it in. Worst case scenario is it gets denied. Best case scenario is it gets accepted. So might as well drop it through and see what they are looking for and what they have in mind. Do know that just because you think it's a good idea doesn't mean that they think it's a good idea, and especially doesn't mean that it is actually a good idea. So do have that grain of salt of understanding that when you make that suggestion, it more than likely will not get accepted. Obviously, that's like not keeping in mind the physical developer issues that come by when making these suggestions and we can make these plugins, such as the fact that we can't have a deboss per island because there's a lot of debosses that we'd have to spawn, and the fact that, as they mentioned, we can't have a fishing island per area just because of the same issue. A little bit afterwards, though, we somehow got back to the talk about servants, and we mentioned that there probably could be a solution if we actually up the ways you get Skycoins from other means.
Make the requirement really high for tier 8.
No, here's what we do. Right now, the way it works is you get 0.5 per kill. Make it so you just get the full per. So tier 1, you get 1 Skycoin, tier 4, you get 4 Skycoins, and then add like a tier 8 and tier 9.
Yeah, but the problem being that once one island unlocks them, then everyone will use that island to get a bunch of Skycoins. Players that just start the server will go there and kill them, and then they don't have to actually play the server.
That's
fair.
Like... Now, that was an interesting point that he came through. The fact that you do want people to play the server at the end of the day, and if people come in like a month or two into the server, and they know that the only way that they can progress by going to someone else's islands and killing their vexes, then that does cause an issue. At the end of the day, I actually do think that's fine, though. The main thing is that your mob drop multiplier works for you specifically no matter what island you're on. So if you were to visit someone else's islands and you currently have a 2 times mob drop multiplier and they have a 10 times mob drop multiplier, you will still only get the 2 times mob drops. So in theory, them going to another island actually doesn't benefit them too much except by giving them that initial push. And in theory, it is actually helpful for them to get that initial push, especially in the late game. If you make it so everyone progresses at the same time, at the same rate, no matter where they are, then the only ones that benefit from that are the people that started day 1 and end on day infinity. You do want to have some kind of catch-up concept for people who enter later in the server like what they had this season, with people being able to buy vex spawners and having that engagement. So personally, I think it's fine if I can visit Ice Top and I kill their vexes just to start some progression. The only problem I do see with that is the fact that you get a lot of Skycoins from killing vexes individually. Since in Masters, the only progression you have is 1.5 times Skycoins gained at tier 9, it's not really that useful to even care about getting that up. If I go to another person's islands, I can just freely farm them and not worry about it, and then use those Skycoins to upgrade my own island, which can understandably cause issues. I think the solution to that is actually quite simple. Leave the Skycoins you gain as is, but change the masteries where it actually increases the Skycoins you gain from even more. If we make it so the Skycoins you gain can double or even triple, then it would actually convince people to farm their own masteries on their own islands. Now, already I'm at a state where I do want the 1.5 times money and the 1.5 times Skycoins, and I do also want the rare drops, so naturally I am still grinding my own vexes. But if the concern is that new players can come into these islands and grind up the Skycoins they gain, then the simple solution is to lower the Skycoins they gain from killing the vexes, but then increase the Skycoins you gain from the masteries. That way people can still be able to get that early boost by going to top islands, but they still have to go to their own islands to grind their own masteries to get that progression. But hey, that's my 2 cents. It's up to them if they want to do anything, and I think that's kind of how we want to go with it. After this, we actually did go back to the whole fiasco happening with the whole Nether situation, when someone actually mentioned that why weren't they all banned? Now, obviously, the people in the Ice Top weren't actually banned. They just had their Nether, blocks revoked, and no one had access to Nether for the rest of the season. Which is okay, because a lot of people didn't really care about the Nether to begin with, who weren't in the Ice Top 10. So this was the most effective way of punishing those who cheated, without affecting those who didn't cheat. But the fact of the matter was that they didn't need to get banned at all. And that's going to be explained in this clip.
So it was pretty murky whether people could use things like a crop hopper in the Nether. And the second that people started using... also, when we first released the Nether, people could use mastery tools. That was never intended. There was not supposed to be mastery in the Nether. I'm not sure why that was kept. And then people got crop hoppers and they were using them. Now the people who were using trade to bring the blocks in, they had to have known they were abusing a bug. But here's the issue, right? If we banned the IS top 10 players and all the people on the island, we would be banning close to 100 players, close to the people who play the server the most.
Now, this is satisfactory to me. I do agree with all the points that were made, and I think that this was the most optimal decision to make in the situation. But someone actually doubled down, saying that if they cheated or if they hacked these things in, it is only fair that they in fact get banned. And in fact, they have seen people that got banned for doing less. Now, I am actually going to go pretty in-depth in this clip, but my issue wasn't the fact that they did say that these people should be banned or these people should have issues. But my main issue was the fact that the person who made the comment said that it was being done for financial gain. They came in with the precursor that these island top people are the ones who are funding the server, and therefore, since they are, Neo didn't want to ban them, which was not the situation at all.
I'm so
Okay, for what it's worth, it's not just a matter of like financial gain. That's not what it is. It's not just like, ooh, keeping the server alive. The fact of the matter is, it's a muddy line of if it was truly like a bug being abused entirely. Because you bought your skin, you have your skin, you went in and it's giving you something. Oh, cool, I got a crop hopper in the nether, let me place it. In theory, they don't always know it's a bug. There's nothing written saying you can't use skins in the nether. So in theory, it's not even fair for him to ban them. And I do think there were 2 people who were banned initially. And then now that he knew that there are this many people who just didn't know it was a bannable offense, and maybe some of them did know, it's like there's no way to know. It's not fair to ban all of them. It just isn't. Now, I was genuinely astonished they made me talk for that long. Watching that clip, there was entire silence in that chat and everyone was intently listening, and not gonna lie, that's kind of dope. But afterwards, everyone seemed to understand, and it seemed to be a general gist that it was the right decision to make. Even those in the top 10 were like, no, that's fair. As long as I get to keep playing, I'm pretty much happy. At the end of the day, I think everyone came out on top. Everyone came out pretty satisfied. There wasn't that much of a shift in the ice top in the first place. And now, if anything, it seems more comfortable for those players who aren't in ice top to potentially see the ability to catch up with the ice top. But yeah, that was pretty much it. It was a pretty insane day, and I actually enjoyed the fact that I got that all on stream. I hope I can go to those chats more often and actually stream them, because I think it was a really enjoyable thing that everyone like enjoyed hearing Neo like opinion on the situation, hearing individuals' opinions on what can happen next season. Now, naturally, that's it for me. If you guys want to see any of my content, feel free to hop over to twitch.tv/NovaDrakers and hit me a follow. I played some Valorant yesterday, lost so bad, but I did have a lot of fun. I am considering having like Valorant tournaments and Overwatch tournaments and stuff like that in my server for gift cards in-game. So if this is something you're interested in, make sure to hop my Discord down below, links in the bio, and pretty much I will see you guys in the next video. Laters. Yo, all I'm gonna say is, so I don't know who was watching, but Neo just like typed like in the creator chat, like enemies like, thank you for having my back in there. It was a lot to talk to 100+ people at once. Really appreciate you, brother. And I could cry right now, dude. I was nervous because there was a lot of times I was talking, like there was silence because people were like paying attention to me, and I got nervous. I was like, I'm not like taking the spotlight from Neo right now. So it's good to know that he actually like appreciated me doing that, because I was nervous. That was fun though. I actually really enjoyed that. I don't do this more often. I do want to talk to you more often. Maybe I should do that. Just like talk to people. Because most of the time I'm here, I'm just like doing like this by myself. But for the most part, I don't really know. That is crazy though.